Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with Remax, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara edition with host Tim Dennis.
And what a week this has been weather-wise. Everybody's in a better mood. Sun shining. We're in the mood for some good news today, Rob. So let's talk about it on the Golfi Real Estate Show. First of all, before we get underway, busy week for you because the Golfi Oscars are coming out.
Yes. So last night we had our Golfi Awards. Fantastic. Pretty well everybody showed up. We had over 100 people there from our team. And we held it at Club Roma in St. Catharines. Everybody knows Club Roma. They've been around forever. And they did a wonderful job in hosting. And we had our awards, and we had music and dancing after, and everybody was dressed to the nines. It was a fantastic event. A lot of awards were given, and we had Rose Martino was our Realtor of the Year, Agent of the Year for the Golfi Team, and she won that award. So she was pretty excited and surprised. And yeah, it's a great night. People look forward to it. It's another night that everybody gets together and sees everybody in person. It depends what office you're working at, because we have an office in Niagara Falls, Grimsby and Hamilton, and also now our Burlington office is going to be opening up in a few months. So yeah, it's good. And then when you get everybody in one room, it's a blast.
So people can hire these award-winning real estate brokers, right? You can fan them out right across Niagara and right across the area, and these are award-winning people that can work for you, right?
Absolutely. They work with me, and they are well-trained realtors. I look over everything when they go to an evaluation to see if they're on track with it. I see everything. I don't micromanage, but I do overlook a lot of things to make sure things are good. We do a lot of evaluations. So we have a program called Geo Warehouse, and once you hit 1,000, when you type in 1,000 different addresses, you got to reset for another 1,000. So you'd be surprised how many times I've reset this thing. It's at least for sure at least one a year, and most people don't do that in a lifetime. But I go through it in a year. Yep. Because not only am I doing some of the ones I'm doing, but I'm doing ones that agents on my team are doing, and then I try to analyze it and try to figure out what a willing buyer is willing to pay for it, and then yeah, that's what we do. So it was great. It was a great night, great event. And speaking of that, I want to tell you a story. This happened in Niagara. This elderly lady was looking at selling, going into a retirement home. So she needs every penny she can get. Her neighbor wanted to buy her house next door, and he offered her $230,000. She thought, hey, that seems like a reasonable price. Like, she was, going to take it. And but she just, for some reason, she had a gut feeling. So she talked to her lawyer, and the lawyer says, you know what? Why don't you get a couple of realtors to come out and take a look at it and see what they say? So my son went out there, and he said, wow, $230, way too cheap. My son Phil said, goes, why don't you list it at $274,000 and we'll hold offers? Okay. Yeah. And she goes, okay. She trusts him. She listed it with him. She talked to two realtors. She went with us. And then the neighbor says, okay, I'll buy it for $274,000. See how fast the neighbor went and wanted to pay $274,000. And so Phil, my son, says, no. You're going to wait until it hits the market, and we have a date that you can submit an offer. And that's what he said to the neighbor. So the lady was very happy, and she liked the way he handled the neighbor. So anyway, they held offers, and do you know what the highest offer was on this thing? $345,000.
Oh boy!
Can you believe that? And guess what? She did not get the neighbor did not get the house. So you know what? I'm telling, this is a perfect example. You got to be careful. Get the right professional. when you're selling your house. If you're selling, I'll tell you, when somebody is selling privately, either the buyer or the seller is the winner. We don't know which one it is. I don't know, but it's either one or the other won the deal. And
you have to be careful though, right, Rob? Because you don't want to agree to something and then back out of it. Even verbally, you can get in trouble, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, not verbally, not as much, not long as it's not in writing. But what happens is either the buyer knows more or the seller knows more.
Yeah.
There's always going to be one loser when it comes to a private sale. Not all the time. I'm not going to say all the time, but it happens. We see it now. Like it just. That's why you got to be very, very careful on that, and make sure you're not going to get shortchanged on a sale of that. So, but yeah, and then here's another story. I'm telling a lot of stories here. So we have I met a couple that they're selling their house, an elderly person selling the brother's house that passed away, and they had it listed for $1.3 million, which was way too high. Way too high. Didn't sell. So I go there and I said, listen, you're not going to like what I'm going to have to tell you, but I understand if you want to get an agent that wants to put the highest price on the listing, by all means, you can go with that agent. But I'm going to be showing you what the market's showing. So I said to them, I go, look, you're listed too high. And I asked them, well, how did you come with this price of $1.3 million? And they said, well, the agent suggested it. And I go, really? I mean, we've got the same information. I don't know how they came across $1.3 million. So anyway, I said, list at $1 million, and I think you're pushing it even at $1 million. I think you're even pushing it at $1 million. So the wife said, no, I want to list it at $1,050,000. I go, oh boy. I go, do you know the difference between listing at $1 million and $1,050,000 is a $200,000 deposit, a down payment versus $75,000 down payment. And I said, you'll have way more action at that. And plus it's not worth over $1 million. I says, we're pushing. Remember I said, we're pushing at $1 million. So anyway, put it at $1,050,000. We get an offer. We get two offers. One at $998,900, another one at $850,000. Okay. And so I said to them, I go, hey, guys, this is a great offer. It was in multiple offers, two offers. I'm telling you, I'd work with this guy if I were you, because I don't know if you're going to see this number again. And they go, no. And we're having an open house this weekend. So this is like Friday night, Saturday, and then we're doing an open house on Sunday. We want to wait till the open house. I go, what? I go, okay. So they said, let's sign it back at $1,050,000. I said, we have to respond. If you let this die, then we got nothing. So we signed it back at $1,050,000. And I said to the agent, give me 3 more days. Just tell your clients, my clients, they sign it back at that number. Just give me 3 days to work with them. So during the time, those 3 days, 3-4 days there, the other agent's clients, they were still looking at houses. They were close to buying another house, but it didn't work out. So I sent back the offer back because my clients agreed to go with the $998,900. So we put it back at that, and they said no. They came back at $975,000. See that? So I sit down with my clients. I go, guys, we're gonna have to do something. I know you're not gonna take $975,000, but you got to give me something better, because they're not coming at $1 million. That door is closed now. So we signed back at $990,000, and we got it accepted. And so it's going through conditions right now. So what I'm saying is, usually your first offer is your best offer. There was 2 offers there. That mistake cost them $10,000, and so you got to be careful with that. And especially deal with an experienced realtor. The realtor they had before that listed at 1.3, either wasn't experienced or was too afraid to tell them what the real value was. And but that's a $10,000 mistake,
Boy. Yeah, and when you think about it, none of us can afford to make a $10,000 mistake, Rob.
No, absolutely not.
Let's talk. You and I have talked about inventory in the last, I don't know how many months. And how inventory was a really it was a big issue for a long time because there just weren't a lot of houses out there. And what are we doing right now? What is the inventory like in 2023 as opposed to the way it was last year, Rob?
Oh, I'll tell you. So, inventory in the last quarter of last year, like we would have 5.5 months of inventory, 6 months of inventory in the last quarter. Now, when I say 6 months, that means if we stopped listing houses today, we have enough houses to sell for 6 months, based at the rate of sales are happening. So that means, so we're good. But as of February, which I always say is a good time to put your house up for sale because you're going to do well. So February was at 3.4 months of inventory, and March was at 2.8. So we probably had probably 6 to 7 weeks of inventory in March in Niagara. Now, it's crazy how that's happened. So if you bought a house last year in November, December, and said, hey, I'm going to buy it November, December. I'm going to close on it 1st of February. You closed on it. You could put it up for sale again 1 week later and probably would have made a 5 to 6% lift on that house. So if you bought $1 million house in November, December last year, and then you closed on it February 1st and put it up for sale February 5th, there's a high probability you made $50,000 to $100,000, maybe even more than that, on reselling that based on what the market was like from last year to this year. And isn't it crazy? Even though we just went through a 7-8 month decline in the market with high interest rates and everything else, crazy.
Are we an optimistic bunch right now when it comes to the whole housing market? Because you see headlines, you read stories, you listen to us talking every week about the real estate market and some of the challenges. You would think it would have made a lot of people pessimistic, but I think Canadians, by and large, are pretty optimistic again, aren't they?
They are. The Canadians, I think the ones that didn't get a house, they're starting to come out. They're realizing the interest rates are what they are. So now they're getting qualified based on the current interest rates. They've got their down payment and the price point of their house. So they're more solid than the people that closed 3.5, 4 years ago and locked in at 1.5 to 2% on their mortgages that are going to be probably, up for renewal next year.
Yep.
And so these people here, they're buying at a higher interest rate. The confidence level is there. Prices are pretty decent. They're starting to climb again. Now, not like they were in the first quarter of 2022, but prices are slowly climbing again. So, and the confidence level's back. And yeah, like I truly feel that we're kind of at a, normal market. It is a little more favored for the seller just because the inventory levels are low. But we'll see how that goes through the summer and the fall of this year.
Are you getting a lot of people coming to the door or calling you on the phone and saying, I want to do this. I think I'm ready to do this. I'm just not sure. Are you getting a lot of uncertainty?
Yeah. And I tell them, I go, look, I think we're gonna experience another spike like we did in February, but I think it's gonna happen at the end of April or the beginning of May. I think we're gonna see another spike, and the reason why is that because families. They want to move after after June 25th, June 30th, because the school year ends, and then they want to move into another school district. They want to have their children start in a different school district. So I feel that we'll have another little spike. So if you're going to do it, I'm going to tell you, do it right away, because I think there'll be another spike, which is going to be beneficial for the seller out there.
Let's talk about the issue that's been in the news so much again, because the Bank of Canada decided to say we're going to hold the interest rate right now. What was your thought when you heard the news this week? Good news, bad news for your business?
I think it's good news. It is going to light a fire in the market. The one thing is, it was kind of quiet the way it happened. Really, people weren't. I think the census was that they weren't going to raise interest rates. So the announcement was pretty quiet. But even though it was made, but the news didn't make it a big deal. The market is already strong right now. This is just like adding gas to the fire. Like it's just going to crank it more. The confident level of people coming out to buy a house, they're going to come out, and also people that own a house may do the upgrade. Let's say they have a growing family, they're going to start buying more. So this just put an extra ignite on the economy for people to start looking and buying houses, definitely. And maybe they I hope they keep it the way it is like this for the year, because this interest rate that we're at right now is not like it's pretty normal. Now, if you talk to anybody that's younger than 35, they're going to say that's crazy. If you talk to anybody that's older than 40, 45, they're going to say, hey, listen, this is normal. This is good because you and I know we've seen interest rates. I've seen interest rates at like 10, 13% in the 90s, and there's interest rates at 19 to 21% in the late 80s, early 80s, and late 70s. So people don't really know how good they still have it here with these interest rates. But it's a normal interest rates for banks to run their business on. It's a normal interest rate for the way the world runs. So so it is a cheap interest rate compared to what the high interest rates that have been in the past. So yeah, it's just going to ignite the economy more. And like I said, I truly think that there's going to be another spike happening before the summer. And my prediction is going to be end of April, but May for sure you'll see a spike. So get your house on the market if you're thinking of moving.
And how do they do that? By the way, while we
call the Golfi Team.
Yeah, exactly. Now there are consumers. We've talked kind of about these stories in weeks past, but there's much more coming online these days about this story, which is about consumers who buy pre-construction homes from builders. And a lot of people think, okay, I'm buying, a house, a condo, whatever, from a builder, because they probably, the builder owns the land, owns the building. I'm going to buy from him. But there are constructions where you buy from builders who do not own the land they're built on. Why is this an issue?
You know what? And it happens a lot more often than you think, and you'd be surprised. So what happens is a developer, sometimes they'll subdivide the land, and it's all approved and everything. They own the land. They're all subdivided lots. And then the small builders will go in. They'll say, hey, I'll pay you when I close the deal, right? And they charge them a fee, interest rates or whatever. So, so they're building a house on a property that they don't own. And if everything goes okay, it closes no problem, because all the deeds and everything get changed just as it's closing. Now, what happened to this one couple, the builder, the guy that was building the house on this property that he didn't own, I guess he couldn't afford to do it or went bankrupt or whatever. So these people, I think they had about $140,000 deposit down on the house, but they were able to recoup $40,000 of it, and they lost their money on this thing. Now, the guy that owns the land, hey, say, listen, that's not a deal you made with me, so you're on your own. Don't bother me about this. And the builder, well, obviously he's not returning phone calls. So it is a major issue. So, but the biggest issue is Tarion. So it says the contract was terminated. They got $40,000, and the only reason they got the $40,000, it's because it's Tarion warranted for $40,000.
Okay, explain to people what Tarion is.
So Tarion is an insurance that home builders have in the event that if they can't close, it's like a trust account for realtors and lawyers. It's like if you were guaranteed to get your $40,000 back from your deposit. Now, builders are asking way too much money for deposits now on selling a house, which I understand. They want a bigger deposit. But you know what the problem with Tarion is? $40,000 doesn't cut it. Like, if I'm going to give a builder $150,000 deposit, I'm only guaranteed $40,000 from Terry-on warranty if that builder closes up. So I'm gonna be out a lot of money, which I think is wrong. I think Terry-on has got to step it up. But then if Terry-on steps it up more, guess what? They're gonna have to charge more for the insurance to the consumer, which is wrong. I don't think a builder should have to take a bigger deposit. I would, if the market is slower, I would say to the builder, you're getting 40,000 max. That's all that's happening if you want my sale. Because I'm not insured anything past 40,000. So I feel that either builders cooperate with the consumers or the consumer just say, hey, hold strong at $40,000. Now, people are scared to even buy new homes now, especially if it's a year from now. That's another thing. So like these guys are going to have 150,000 of my money, and then what if they don't build it? Like, you know what I mean? Like I just lost a year that I could have had appreciation. You know what I mean? On the house. So, but yeah, I think Terry-on has to change, and without having expensive fees. I think the builder should not have to take that extra money. I know they use it to build, but I'm sure they got financing from the banks to build that house.
Now, did I read it correctly that you're only protected, the deposits are only protected if the deposit is paid to the owner of the land, not to the developer, right? If in the case they don't own the land.
Yeah, and that's another case.
Yeah.
Like you got to buy from a reputable builder. You got to, and you got to have a lawyer maybe do a search title to make sure everything is on the up and up. Like just say, hey, yep, this builder, he does own the land that he's building on. Okay, you go ahead and make your deposit. So if you're buying a house, always have a clause for a lawyer to review the contract. Always do that, and you know what, it may cost the lawyer maybe $50 to search title to find out who does own that lot. And so what? Pay the $50. So you're not out an additional $100,000. So it's always wise to do that. Now, we know builders in our markets that we work in, and we know that they've been around. So I don't think you have any issues to deal with them. But if you see an unrecognized name that you don't know, then you should have your lawyer look into it and check to see if they own the land that they're building the house on.
Let's talk to a group of people who are numerous in number, and these are people who may never have owned a house before, and they tune in to the program to find out whether it's possible, get some tips on these kinds of things. But there is something called a first home savings account. Explain what this is all about.
Yeah, no, this is a great thing. So this is for prospective home buyers. They can contribute up to $8,000 tax free. So this is a great opportunity. Now, savings each year up to a lifetime contribution of $40,000. Now, if the full amount isn't contributed each year, you're allowed to carry forward a maximum of $8,000 to use the following year. Now, the first home savings account has a maximum participation of 15 years. So once you start, you got 15 years. Now, meaning account holders must transfer all funds and close the account after 15 years to opening it. Now, you can end up paying taxes if you don't end up buying a house on this. So because you got a tax exemption from it. It's like an RSP almost. Now, if a couple is interested in the account, both people can open their own account. If combined, there's double the savings. So there's like a lot of times, most couples, they move in together, renting a house. So they should each open up a tax-free savings account because they're going to end up getting a lot of money back from their income tax or against their income on that. So now the maximum allowable contribution obviously is $40,000. Now, another option is the home buyer's plan, which allows you to withdraw funds from your RSP. So you can, as you're saving money for your home savings account, you could actually borrow from your RSPs, which, it's not a good idea to do. Now, but here is the thing. Now, these banks, it started April 1st, but none of the banks, I don't know if they have it set up yet. So find out if your bank does have it set up and get $8,000 into that account if you're thinking of buying a house, because you can actually, in this fiscal year, you could put $8,000 in right now, get a tax deduction from your income from that you're making on your job, and 30 days later buy a house. So I had my accountant look at this, and he said you must not have acquired the qualifying home more than 30 days before making the first withdrawal. So basically, you put your $8,000 in there, you get a tax deduction. So let's say you make $100,000 a year. You put $8,000 in. There's a high probability that you're going to get $4,000 shaved off your income tax that you have to pay. So you may get that back in income tax next year, which is fine. You got $4,000 coming back. Add another $4,000 and do it again next year. So there's a lot of positives about this. But if you are looking at buying a house in the next 30 plus days or 30, 90, 120 days, put the $8,000 in there, get the tax deduction, and then use that $8,000 towards the house that you're going to buy. And now if there's two of you buying it, make sure you each put $8,000 in, because you guys are already saving up for your down payment. Put it into your first home savings account, and you'll have a great tax deduction off your income tax. Plus, you can put it towards your house. So if you're looking at a house right now, try to get it in that account. Find a bank that does it. Call every bank in the big 5 banks and see if they got it set up, and get that tax deduction for this
I
year.
hear it may take a while for the banks to actually set this up, because they don't rush to do these things when they're not making a ton of money.
That's right. So, but
you have to prove that you're a first-time buyer, right? You
have to prove you're a first-time buyer, so the lawyers will get that information and stuff like that. But don't set it up if you're not a first-time buyer. People, do not set it up. You're gonna be faced with saying, "Sorry, we can't do this for you," even though you put it in. Now if you're a young couple, and parents, if you have a child that is going to buy a house and you're going to help them out, give them the $8,000 so they can get more money back. So if they put $8,000 in for this thing, they get a tax deduction. They're going to get money back on income tax. They can pay you back that way if you need to. But get people going on this. Use this thing as fast as possible. I don't know which bank is set up. I don't know how fast these banks can set it up, but I would call the credit unions. I would call all the banks and see who is going to be the quickest to set this up and get $8,000 in there as fast as you can.
The world can be a scary place if you're a first-time home buyer, right? Because you're seeing all of this stuff going on. You're seeing homes up for sale, and you're hearing people, throw around prices that you think are incredible. When people come to you, Rob, and say, "Yeah, I've never done this before. I want to get into the market." What are you hearing from them? Are they really scared of it?
Yeah, they are. You know what? First-time buyers, it's a big issue. It's an exciting thing that's happening as they're looking, but once they write on the dotted line, they're terrified, because they're buying brick and mortar. This is it. Yep. When you're renting, it's easy. Just say, "Hey, yeah, it's $2,000 a month. I'll rent this house, no problem. 1-year contract. After that, it's month to month, no problem. I can get in and I can get out anytime." But when you own a house, you got to fix that house. You got to maintain that house. You got to cut the grass. You got to do all that stuff, and it's a scary thing for especially a young couple or a young person.
Well, yeah, and if you hear people saying, "I spent $1 million on a home," you're thinking, "No way I'm going to be able to afford $1 million." But there are homes that are more affordable than that are available, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Right now in Niagara, you should be able to buy a house somewhere between under $700,000 that is beautiful. In my recommendation, if you really want to buy a house and you need help with income, buy a bungalow with a side door entrance, convert the basement into another apartment. You live upstairs, live there like that for maybe a couple years until you're secure, and then have the tenant move out, and then you take up the whole house. Or you keep it, buy another house, and you rent the upstairs, and you got the downstairs rented. Now you got a rental property, and you're all set to go.
What's the number one thing that people look for when they're driving past a house? They haven't even looked inside yet, but they're driving down the road. There's a sign says, "For sale, Golfi Team." And what's the first thing that should jump out at them?
Curb appeal. They see if you take care of your house on the outside, chances are you take care of it on the inside. Right. Curb appeal. You want them to go inside, and most people make their decision of buying that house as soon as they walk in the front door. They walk in, they go, "Wow, this is it." Now what's left when they go through the house, that's what they're going to find, and they've fallen in love. It's like love at first sight. You know, those people that, they always say, hey, they see somebody and they go, oh my God, this is love at first sight for me. That's how it is when you walk in the front door of a house. You know right there, right then and there, whether you are going to buy that house, and that's how you know you got that loving feeling.
Well, people will have questions. People can contact you anytime during the week, 905-641-0308, or online at robgolfi.com, and the website has all the information that you need. Or they can just simply wait and tune in to the program next week. Now, if they have a question during the week, how can they get that question to you so that next week you answer it?
Questions@golfiteam.com. Just send it in. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Enjoy the weather. Talk to you next time, Rob.
You too. Thank you.
You sent me a picture, and it's a house on Dunn Street in Niagara Falls. So explain to everybody why you sent me the picture that I'm looking at in my hands right now.
So I sent you this picture. This is a property that I purchased at a very young age. And it's on Dunn Street in Niagara Falls. It's almost across the street from Niagara College. When they built the Culinary School of Niagara College. Now it's not used as a college anymore. Now, I bought this property in 1985 for $34,000. So I'm standing in front of this house doing a little video. The neighbor across the street comes running across the street, say, Rob Golfi, oh my God, my father remembers when you bought this house at 18 years old and this and that. I go, are you kidding me? She goes, he couldn't believe it. He talked about you all the time and everything else like that. And I'm like, oh my, I can't believe this. Like the people across the street still live there, right? We're talking, 1985. So, and she remembered me buying this house. She remembered. She was the daughter anyway, and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just doing a video, just because this is one of the properties I purchased, and I'm going to talk about how prices of homes double every 10 years." Okay, so right. I gave you a sheet here. I always say house prices double every 10 years. Okay, so in 1985, this house was purchased for $34,000. I know that because I bought it. And I'm going to tell you about the house next door after this little sequence I'm going to go through. So if you tack on 10 years from 1985 to 1995, let's assume the house would sell for $68,000. Well, I sold that house, and I can't remember the exact number. I think it was $69,000 I sold it, and I sold it to my friend on Dunn Street. He added a second story to this after that. This used to be a bungalow, but he added a second story. So, but in 1995, it shows here that it would probably sell for $68,000. So that 10 years later, it doubled. Now, 10 years after 1995 would be 2005. So I put a number there, $136,000. But just to give you a thing, this house actually did sell for $90,000 in year 2000. So between 1995 and 2005, it sold for $90,000. So 2005, I'm giving an estimation of $136,000. Okay. 2015, I'm giving an estimation of $272,000. Now, if you double 2015 to 2025, that's 10 years. The estimated price of this house should sell in 2025, $544,000. Well, it sold in 2020 for $495,000. It should have no problem selling for $544,000 in 2025, 5 years later. So this is a perfect indication how house prices double every 10 years. They double every 10 years. And this is how people become millionaires. But I want to tell one other story before we go on. So, Tim, do you see the picture of the house next door to it on the left?
Yes.
Okay, so that house there was a smaller house, 2 bedrooms. It went up for sale for, I think, $28,000 or $29,000. Okay, the same year, later in the year. And I looked at it, and because I was so young, I go, these bedrooms are really small, right? Okay. Yeah. And I'm going, I don't know. So I offered $26,000. I did not want to pay more than $26,000 for it. They were willing to sell it for $28,000. They didn't want to come down less than $28,000. I lost this house for $2,000.
Yeah.
$2,000. Now, $2,000 is probably was it 8%, 10%? Was it 7% of the $26,000? It seemed like a lot. Now, I will never let that happen again because everything has developed all the way around this property. Everything. These are the only two properties. These properties were 50-foot wide lots by 150 feet deep. This would have been a nice piece of chunk of land if I did buy that second one. I regretted that, not buying that till this day, and I'll never let that happen again because that was a good deal, $26,000. But, you know, I'm still new in the game of buying real estate, and I kind of let that go. And I even regretted it even a year, 2 years after I when I didn't buy it. But what I'm saying to everybody is don't let, even now, if you see a house and it looks like a great investment, don't let $5,000, $10,000 stop you from buying it because it's going to be worth more than that by the time you take the possession date. So you should just believe me. If you're in for the long term, you're going to double your money on these houses. You buy a house for $500,000, it's going to be worth $1 million. Now, if you're listening and you live in a house right now and it's worth $800,000, can you believe that house is going to be worth probably $1.6 million in 10 years? You don't believe it, but it will. Can you believe townhouses? They went up in price. Like I had a townhouse I bought in Grimsby, and I paid what was it, $100,000 for it. These townhouses are selling for $600,000 today. I can't believe it. Like I would never think they'd be worth $600,000, but they do. They double every 10 years. So, guys, I'm telling you, just do not jump over the dollars to save pennies. They do that all the time. Like, oh no, I don't, I see deals fall apart over because they didn't get the fridge in the house. Don't lose it for that.
I can hear the regret in your voice right now.
I know. I lived it.
Years later.
I lived that regret.
All right, let's go to the other end of the scale. And we were talking about $1 million homes. Let's talk about $1 million people, millionaires. And we've talked in the past about investing in real estate. And there was a study that showed a lot of millionaires, and in fact, a great deal of the millionaires that exist in North America these days, invest in real estate. And you can do that if you have some money, but what is it about real estate that makes it such an attractive investment, Rob Golfi?
It gives you passive income. You've got cash flow coming in. It's a retirement piece. You buy it, and I get it. It's not for everybody. I understand it. Let somebody else manage it, and then let them take care of it. If it needs work, you just write the check, but somebody else handles the tenants, and that's it. And you know what? Tenants are getting better now because it's getting tougher to find a place. So tenants are a little bit more on the disciplinary. They're pretty good. Back in the old days, sometimes they weren't, and some landlords aren't good. But you got great passive income, and if you hold on to this property for 20, 25 years, it's paid for. And think about it. You buy a property today, $500,000 today. 10 years, it's worth $1 million. 10 years after that, it's $2 million. 10 years after that, it's $4 million. You don't believe it? Listen, you'll see it. Take a look at the house. If you're in your 50s, take a look at the house when you were 20 years old and find a house that you remember that was for sale, and then double that every 10 years, and you'll see it. Now, if you're a young person right now, do everything you can to buy a house, because in 10 years, it's going to be worth double. And if you don't let it go by, just do everything in your power that you can do to get yourself a property. And even if it's rental income downstairs, if you have to do it, but great passive income.
And are there tax benefits to it?
Tax benefits are fantastic. That's what I love about owning real estate. The tax benefits are incredible. I remember when I first started, I couldn't believe the income tax returns I was getting in the spring every year. When I was like I said, the first 3 years of my life as adult, I guess I'm not sure when you become an adult. As a, I worked at GM. You get taxed pretty heavily at GM, but I was getting money back from the government, and I'm telling you, back those days, I was getting $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 back because of it. Now I was fixing up some of the properties and needed a little bit of work here and there, but now I own quite a few properties, and the returns I get, incredible. They're under a corporation, and everything is done through my corporations now.
Not everybody can do that, obviously,
No.
but you can invest without having millions to invest.
Exactly. I think a person should have at least one or two properties. Just an average person. Have one other one, because you'll get tax benefits just because of that. There's a lot of little things you can write off because you own that property. Buying a lawnmower, buying tools, that you need for that property. And you're going to end up using those tools for your own house. Whatever you get a lot of tax benefits. Plus, the house is getting paid for. Plus, it's going to be worth a lot more. And then. And that could be your pension. That could be your pension, because the pension, I'm going to tell you, that you're going to get from the government when you turn 65, you got your old age pension and your Canada pension. It ain't going to cut it to survive. You're going to need something.
And, okay, we're heading into, obviously, springtime is here. We've had an incredible week. It's not going to be long away from summertime. More houses are coming on the market. We talked about that. There are more houses with signs going up. You're heading into that time of the year. What is a good suggestion for getting your house ready right now to put it up for sale? What should people be thinking about as we head into the much better weather, Rob?
So right now, if you're looking at putting your house up for sale, let's say in the next 10 days, this is April, right? Weather is, we're having good weather right now as we're speaking, but it's going to get cold maybe next week. Give your grass a good rake and give it a lawn cut, and then just edge the flower beds and everything, so you got that taken care of. Now, if you've got like issues outside, like peeling paint around the trim of the front door and stuff like that, clean it up. And also paint your front door. I'm telling you, there's certain colors you paint your front door that's going to attract people. And I don't know what it is. I know people use the color yellow. They use the color red, even charcoal or black or something like that. It just centers the house out. But I'll tell you, Google what sells your house fast when selling your house, and you'll see the colors that'll come up. And believe me, red, yellow, and I think charcoal comes up on there. Paint your front door. Simple. Just boom, boom. Takes 10 minutes. You paint it, you're done. You shut the door, and guess what? People drive by, they go, wow, that's a beautiful looking house. Because people look at the front door. That's the center of the house. So I would paint the front door. Then after that, just declutter inside. And you could do this. This is not hard stuff to do. This could be done like on a weekend, and then you get your house on the market right away. But that's what you need to do to get things rolling fast. So you make it for that next spike that's going to happen in late April or May for sure.
Are you a big believer in painting that front door red?
I would paint the front door red. Not a problem.
Really?
But yeah, yellow. I'm telling you, Tim, Google what it says. What color should I paint my front door of my house to sell it fast? And you'll see. And they'll give you an explanation why. There's different colors. Look it up. I'm telling you, do it, and you will benefit from it.